WTA's official Instagram account could not help themselves. They shared her red carpet photos, and the internet did not just react, it erupted. Fans from Manila to Madrid were going absolutely wild in the comments section. Fellow athletes from around the world piled in too. Tennis players like Victoria Mboko, Zeynep Sonmez, Eala, Katie Bolter, and Storm Sanders all reacted. Even Phil-American gymnastics sensation Eala Finnegan jumped in. But here's what made this moment transcend the usual noise of social media celebrity. This was not just a fashion story. This was a statement that carried the weight of an entire nation behind it. Eala was not simply attending an awards ceremony in a beautiful dress. She was telling the whole world, in the most elegant possible language, I am here. I belong here. And I brought the Philippines with me. And then, as if the red carpet moment alone was not enough to send everyone into complete orbit, she posted a selfie on her Instagram story. And you need to really, truly picture this scene in your mind. Standing between Novak Djokovic, a 24-time Grand Slam champion, arguably the greatest tennis player in the history of the sport, and Eileen Gu, a 3-time Olympic gold medalist and one of the most celebrated athletes on the planet, was this 21-year-old girl from Manila, grinning like she absolutely owned the room. She captioned the photo with 4 words, sandwiched between greatness. 4 words. And we cannot think of a more perfectly crafted, more self-aware, more charming 4 words in the history of sports captions. Sandwiched between greatness. Djokovic on one side, Eileen Gu on the other, and Eala right there in the middle, exactly where she belongs. Now, if you are new to the Eala story, and if you are, welcome, because you picked the perfect moment to arrive, you need to understand the backstory because without it, the magnitude of this Laureus moment does not fully land. Just over a year ago, at the start of the 2025 season, Eala was ranked 140th in the world. 140th. She was a name that existed mostly in whispered conversations among tennis insiders. A prodigy who had trained at the Rafael Nadal Academy in Spain. A junior Grand Slam champion. Someone who people spoke about carefully, cautiously, with that particular brand of optimism that comes wrapped in a warning. Potential is one thing, but the WTA Tour will swallow it whole if you let it. Nobody swallowed Eala. Nobody even came close. What happened to the 2025 Miami Open in March of that year belongs in a chapter of sports history. She entered as a wild card. Think about what that means. A wild card, ranked 140 in the world. And she proceeded to tear through one of the most competitive draws in women's tennis with a fearless, first strike, take-no-prisoner style that left the tennis world absolutely speechless. She defeated Grand Slam champion Jelena Ostapenko. She defeated Grand Slam champion Madison Keys. She beat the world number 2, Iga Swiatek, and sent her packing from the tournament in what was one of the biggest upsets and most stunning performances of the entire WTA season. She became the first Filipina in history to reach a WTA 1000 semifinal. She made history for her country in a sport where her country had never made history before. And she did it as a wild card, against the number 2 player on the planet. It was, in the truest sense of the word, insane. Eala herself has admitted as much. In a podcast appearance earlier this year, she talked about that Miami run with a kind of disbelief that only made the story more endearing. She said it has to be the highlight of her career so far, the moment that put her on the map, the moment when everything clicked. And when you look back at what it meant for Filipino tennis, for Filipino sport as a whole, that sense of history and wonder makes complete sense. For a nation where basketball is practically a religion and boxing is the language of national pride, suddenly there was this young woman on the biggest hard courts in the world, toppling giants, and putting Filipino tennis on the international map in a way it had simply never been before. Seismic does not even begin to cover it. After Miami, Eala's ranking rocketed. She went from 140 to the top 75 inside of 2 weeks. By the end of the European grass season, she had advanced to her first ever WTA final at Eastbourne. By the end of the year, she had claimed her first WTA 125 title in Guadalajara. And she closed out 2025 ranked at a career-high number 50 in the world, up from 143 where she had started the year. Then she kept going. By the time the 2026 season rolled around, she had pushed her career high further still, climbing all the way to a remarkable number 29. She currently sits at number 44 after a tough recent stretch. But let us be absolutely clear about this. The trajectory of Eala's career is pointing in one direction only, and that direction is up. The Laureus stage in Madrid on Monday night made that perfectly clear. Because as we said, you do not get an invitation to that room by accident. Carlos Alcaraz won World Sportsman of the Year, beating out a lineup of nominees that included Armand Duplantis, Jannik Sinner, and Marc Marquez after his dominant 2025 season that included both the French Open and US Open titles. Aryna Sabalenka was crowned Sportswoman of the Year. Lando Norris took home the Breakthrough of the Year award. And legendary gymnast Nadia Comaneci received the Lifetime Achievement Award. The night was dripping with legacy, with greatness, with the kind of history that sport only produces in its most glorious moments. And right there in the thick of all of it was a 21-year-old from Manila, looking like she had attended events like this her entire life. Looking, honestly, like she absolutely belonged. Because she does. What elevates Eala's story beyond just a great sports story, and it is already a great sports story, is the human dimension underneath it. She is carrying something that most athletes are never asked to carry. She is not just playing for a ranking, for prize money, for personal glory. She is playing for an entire country that had never seen itself reflected in the top tier of women's professional tennis before. She shut down the OSCARS of sport. Eala's jaw-dropping Laureus moment that has the whole world talking. Forget everything you are doing today because we need to stop the clock, rewind to Monday night in Madrid, Spain, and talk about the one moment that has absolutely taken over the internet, has Filipino fans in complete meltdown mode, and has the entire tennis world doing a double take. Because while the biggest names in global sport gathered inside one of the most stunning palaces in all of Europe to celebrate athletic greatness, one young woman walked onto that red carpet and, without a trophy in hand, without a world number one ranking, without any of those things, she stopped the entire show cold. Her name is Eala. She is 21 years old. She is from the Philippines. And on the night of April 20th, 2026, she became the most talked about person at the most glamorous sporting event on the planet. We are talking about the Laureus World Sports Awards. People, this is not just some fancy ceremony. This is the OSCARS of sport. This is the night where the absolute cream of global athletics, the ones who made the entire world gasp in 2025, all gather under one roof to be celebrated and honored. Carlos Alcaraz was there. Aryna Sabalenka was there. Novak Djokovic and Eileen Gu were co-hosting the evening. Armand Duplantis, Jannik Sinner, Rory McIlroy, Lando Norris. You name the legend and they were somewhere in that magnificent building, the Palacio de Cibeles, a structure so gorgeous it almost feels too beautiful to be real. This is the 25th anniversary edition of the greatest show in sport, celebrating champions from over 40 countries around the world. And right there among all of those titans of global athletics, walking with her head held high, chin up, butterflies on her shoulders, literally, was Eala, representing the Philippines with every single step she took. Now before we get into the outfit, because we absolutely must get into the outfit, let us first establish something critical. Eala being at the Laureus World Sports Awards was not an accident. It was not charity. It was not a lucky invitation pulled out of thin air. The Laureus ceremony does not extend invitations to promising young players who once showed a flash or two of potential. It invites athletes who have genuinely moved the needle, who have shifted conversations, who have made the entire sporting world sit up and actually pay attention. And in 2025, Eala did all three of those things in the most breathtaking, most cinematic, most impossible-seeming fashion imaginable. So when she walked that red carpet on Monday night, every single step she took was earned, paid for in full, with months of blood, sacrifice, and performances that nobody who watched them will ever forget. But let us talk about that outfit now because, honestly, we would be doing you a serious disservice if we glossed over this even for a second. On the most prestigious red carpet in world sport, surrounded by athletes draped in designer labels from every fashion capital on earth, Eala made a choice that went far beyond fashion. She chose to wear a Filipiniana, a soft cream dress featuring a detachable bolero adorned with iconic butterfly sleeves, the unmistakable silhouette of traditional Filipino formal wear. And here's the detail that makes this story even more extraordinary. That gown was designed by her own uncle, Eala, a renowned Filipino fashion designer based abroad. She did not walk that carpet in just any dress. She walked it in something made by her own family, woven with her own heritage, stitched together with Filipino pride and love. She completed the look with soft wavy curls, a matching necklace, earrings, and a ring adorned with orange gems, and a tennis bracelet. And the result? Absolute devastation. In the best possible way.